Hello, welcome back to my channel. On today's video, I'm gonna be telling you about all the books I've read in the last 3 months, because I haven't done a wrap-up in a while. I could say that over the last 3 months, I didn't read much because I was preparing my thesis presentation and that was a lot of work. And it was. But I also was just procrastinating, doing everything and anything, and that's the main reason why I didn't read much or just do much in general. But moving on, but also not moving on at the same time, I just want to say that it's so hot here, so freaking hot. I think this is the hottest winter I've ever lived because it's the 29th of December when I'm filming this and it's 22-ish degrees Celsius outside, which I have no idea what is in Fahrenheit, but I'm sure Google will tell me. And yeah, it's just so hot. I was supposed to be cozy and snuggled up in a blanket, but if I do that, I will spontaneously combust. So yeah, not happy about the hot weather. And not just for me, for, the planet in general. And yeah, anyway, now moving on. So the first book I'm gonna be talking about is Bunny by Mona Awad. I never know how to say the author's name, but what else is new? And this is a horror novel that I read in October. And, well, basically follows Samantha, who goes to college. And there's a group of 4 girls who call each other Bunny. And Samantha and her friend, Ava, I think, they don't like the bunnies. They think they're really weird. And, let's be honest, they are. But then Samantha gets an invitation to go to one of the bunnies' parties, sort of. And she goes, and she kind of gets sucked into their cult. And this was probably I was gonna say it was the weirdest book I read, but actually after this I read a novella that was way weirder. So up to the point when I read it, this had been the weirdest book I had ever read. But I really liked it because I liked that it made me feel very uncomfortable at times, and the writing was kind of beautifully unsettling, and the way people talked was so weird. And it was just very uncomfortable, but yeah, very, very weird. And I did want more of the uncomfortable parts because, if you're gonna be weird, just be weird. And it was weird, but I also wanted more of the uncomfortable feeling. And if you don't like weird books that don't really make any sense, you're probably not gonna like this, but I do like weird stuff, so I did enjoy it. But I have a reading vlog for this book that I will link in the description if you wanna hear my more in-depth thoughts about it, but I ended up giving it 4 stars. So next I read 4 novellas for a reading vlog that I will also link in the description. And the first one was Sour Candy by Patrick Burke. And this is a horror novella about a father and a son that people find strange because the kid just gets away with everything that he wants. And they are strange because they're not your typical father and son, because the father, up to a few weeks ago, did not know the kid at all. And they just met sort of randomly. And now the father is pretty much a prisoner. And I liked some of the creepy parts of this book. And for me, children in horror stories are one of the creepiest things ever. So, having a child at the center of the story was definitely creepy, but I didn't think it was the best thing ever. It was fun, but it wasn't, a revelation of horror. But yeah, I did have fun and I gave it 3 stars. Then I read another novella from the same author, and it was called Blanky. And in this one we followed Steve after the tragic death of his baby daughter. And one day he finds a blanket in his daughter's bedroom. And everything starts to unfold from there. And basically, the baby liked the blanket so much that she had been buried with it. And the blanket is not buried anymore. And that's not a spoiler because that's in the synopsis. And basically, yeah, weird things start happening. But in my opinion, it was more sad than scary. And like the previous one, it was, in this case, not exactly fun because, like I said, it was really sad. But, I enjoyed reading it, but it wasn't the best thing ever either. But I did really like the ending in this one. Unlike Sour Candy, I did not like the ending of Sour Candy. And I did like the ending of this one, so I give this one 3.5 stars. Alright, the next horror novella was Things Have Gotten Worse Since We Last Spoke by Eric LaRocca. And this was the one I was talking about when I said that I had read something more weird than Bunny. Basically, in this one, we follow two women who are chatting, like in a chat room, and also, I think we also get emails. That's how the whole story is told. And they start talking because one of them posted an ad for, I think it was an apple peeler. Pretty sure it was an apple peeler. And even the story about the apple peeler was weird. So things were weird from the beginning, and it just got even more intense, weird, interesting. It was definitely very disgusting, and it takes a bit to disgust me. So, I like anything that can shock and horrify me, so I give this one 3.5 stars. And the last novella I read was Rolling in the Deep by Myra Brent. And I had read the novel that came after this novella, which was called Into the Drowning Deep. I was looking at it. And I did really enjoy the book. I just thought that the first half was very slow. And obviously in a novella you don't get that problem. But I had kind of the opposite problem. I thought it was too quick. But it's a novella, it's supposed to be quick. But anyway, it's about a group of researchers, journalists, a bunch of people who go on a ship, basically on an expedition to figure out if mermaids or sirens are real. And they do run into some sirens, obviously, and I did love the action scenes where the sirens were attacking people. That was incredible, and I gave this one 4 stars. Alright, so next book was actually a reread, and it was I'm Thinking of Ending Things by Ian Reid, and I talked about this book in my last video when I talked about my favorite and least favorite books I read in 2021, and I reread this one, so it was obviously one of my favorites. And I'm not gonna talk too much about it because I have talked about this book in more than one video before. So very quick, this is horror as well, and basically we follow a girl whose name we never know, who goes with her boyfriend to meet his parents. And they go kind of on a road trip, and weird things happen. It's very weird as well. We see a theme here. So it's very weird, it's very unsettling, it's very uncomfortable, it makes you uncomfortable at times. And I listened to the audiobook the second time. The first time I read it physically, and the second time I listened to the audiobook, and it was really good. Especially I'm not gonna find the page, am I? Okay, I did find the page. These pages here, they're just what are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? It was so creepy in the audiobook, but so good. I really like the audiobook. And if you have read this book, you know that you only really figure out what's happening at the end. So, I definitely wanted to reread it knowing, what was actually going on. And I definitely recommend rereading this book because it will be very different. And yeah, I still loved it, and I still gave it 5 stars the second time. Alright, next I read Six of Crows by Lee Bardugo, and I also have a reading vlog for this that I will link in the description. And in this book we follow 6 characters who go on a heist. Also, this is a fantasy book, and it's part of the Grishaverse. And I wanted to read this because I wanted to watch the Shadow and Bone TV show. Have I watched the show yet? No, I haven't, but I will at some point. And anyway, we follow these characters, and I really enjoyed book one, like this book, and I really like getting to know the characters. I really like the plot, but I really like heist stories, so it made sense for me to like it. And I like the tension, the action. I pretty much enjoyed everything about this book, and I gave it 4.5 stars. But on the other hand, next I read book two, which is Crooked Kingdom, which I also have a reading vlog for, and I did not like it as much. In this one, we basically follow the aftermath of the events of the first book, which, like I said, I really enjoyed. But I just thought the plot in this one wasn't very interesting, and I just didn't care about most of what was happening. And that meant that I kind of stopped caring about the characters as well. And even when something really bad happened, I just felt nothing because I wasn't invested in the story or the characters anymore. And I gave this one 3 stars. Alright, next book is Heretics of Dune by Frank Herbert. And this is the 5th book in the Dune series. And this is set, I think, 1500 years after book 4. So a lot has changed. And there were a bunch of new characters, obviously, and I was just so confused at the beginning. And then I started understanding what was happening, but I was just not interested. I only cared about one character, who was a girl that could kind of like communicate with the worms. I liked her story. I was interested to see where it was going, what would happen to her and the worms, so I was only invested in her. Until the last 100 pages, where it kind of all got interesting to me. And yeah, I did really enjoy the last 100 pages because, stuff started happening. There was action, there were things being developed, there was like a strong plot going. But the rest of it, I just was very meh about it, so I gave this one 2.5 stars. I am sure that this was my least favorite book of the series. Alright, next I read It by Stephen King, which I also have a reading vlog for. And, in this book we follow 6 or 7 characters, I never know. And we follow them as kids while they live in Derry and their encounters with Pennywise the clown, who is actually not a clown. And then we follow the same characters 27 or 28 years later as they encounter Pennywise again. And I did enjoy the parts where Pennywise appeared and, scary stuff happened because that's kind of what you want in a horror novel. But there was just so much unnecessary stuff. And this book is so long. This is the longest book I've ever read, like for sure. It's over 1,000 pages. And also, the interludes were so unnecessary and boring, and I didn't care about most of what happened here. What I did like was the kids, like their journey and their interactions, their friendship. I did really enjoy following the kids a lot more than when they were adults, because when they were adults, I couldn't care less. They could all die, and some of them did, so yay. But I really didn't care about the adults. But like I said, I did like the children. I did like when Pennywise appeared, but I really didn't like the ending, just like I didn't like the ending of the movie, and it was the same freaking ending, and I gave it 2.5 stars. Alright, and the last book I read was 20 Years Later by Charlie Donnelly, and this book actually came out yesterday, but I was very excited to read it because I have read 2 books by this author before and I really enjoyed both, so I just, I found the audiobook and I listened to it last night and this morning. And basically in this book, the remains of a 9/11 victim are identified as Victoria something, and basically Victoria was being investigated for murder before she died. And after she died, the investigation didn't really go anywhere. But now that she has been identified, Avery, who hosts a TV show, starts investigating that, and she enlists the help of a former FBI agent who is called Waltz, and they kind of start working on it together. But at the same time, we get Avery's own personal drama and how like her past is coming back to haunt her kind of situation. And I mean, I didn't care about that as much as the woman who was being investigated for murder when she died. Like, that's what I wanted to read about in this book. But there was like a good chunk of the book in which like Avery and her stuff kind of dominated the book. And like I said, I wasn't interested in that part. So I was kind of disappointed. And the book was very meh to me until I got to, I don't know if it's like the last chapter or if it was a prologue, because I was just listening to it and I didn't like hear if it was chapter or whatever or just prologue, but it was like the last section, which I thought was really, really good. I really liked the ending. So that bumped it up like half a star, and I gave it 3.5 stars. And that is it for the books I read. I think there were 12 of them in the last 3 months, which, I mean, it's not like no reading at all, but also it's not the most reading I've done. But I have so many books I'm excited to read next year, so I will hopefully get more reading done. But this is everything for this week's video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, give it a like and subscribe, and I will talk to you next time. Bye!